Episode 7 opens with a scene of Yoo-sok inside the hospital. He recalls a memory, lying unconscious inside a car, with Sol-ah gazing intently at him. Joo-young speaks with Sang-il, informing him that she is heading to take a statement from Sol-ah, as she was present at the scene of the incident. Later, she approaches Sol-ah and asks, "Are you going to dismiss this as a mere coincidence this time, too?" Sol-ah presents the dashcam footage from her car, telling her, "You can check this to see exactly what I was doing there." Meanwhile, a colleague approaches Sang-il, hands him a document, and mentions that it was provided by Yoon-ae. This evidence conclusively establishes that on the day of Sang-ja's death, Yoo-hyuk was inside his station, meaning he could not have been the one to kill Sang-ja. Sang-il remarks, "I suspect there must be a third party pulling the strings behind all of this." Consequently, Yoo-hyuk is released. Joo-young speaks with him, asking, "Why were you repairing the boat?" He remains silent, offering no explanation other than that Sol-ah had asked him to do it. We then see Yoo-sok visiting Kong-jin, who remains unconscious. As Yoo-sok steps out, he runs into Joo-young, who admonishes him, "You should have told me where you were going. Otherwise, you could have ended up in Kong-jin's place." Sol-ah arrives to check on Yoo-sok but finds his room empty. She eventually locates them and begins to eavesdrop on their conversation. Joo-young suggests to Yoo-sok, "I have a feeling that Sol-ah must have a friend who is orchestrating all of this." Yoo-sok responds, "And even if she does, so what?" Upon hearing this, Sol-ah quietly walks away. Yoo-sok continues, "I know for a fact that Sol-ah didn't do anything. What would she possibly gain by killing either me or Kong-jin? The real culprit is someone else." Yoo-sok enters his room, only to find Sol-ah standing there. He tells Sol-ah not to wander around the place like that. However, she insists that she is fine. He then asks, "By the way, how did you find out that an incident had occurred there? How did you end up at the scene?" Sol-ah asks him if he doesn't remember anything at all. He shakes his head, indicating that he doesn't. Sol-ah explains, "I was looking at the painting that Jun-bom had sent. Seeing it raised some suspicions in my mind. I went to speak with a woman and asked her when Kong-jin was expected to arrive here. This woman turns out to be the very same person Yoo-sok had spoken to earlier. The woman informed her that he would be arriving in Korea that very day." Sol-ah continues, "I was on my way to the airport to meet him. But then I noticed that he was with you, and that a car was tailing your vehicle. I decided to follow them as well. However, the driver of that car suddenly overtook yours and caused the accident. We, the viewers, witnessed this entire sequence of events unfold." Later, Sol-ah approaches Yoo-sok. She gazes at him for a brief moment, then opens the car door and pulls him out of the vehicle. Yoo-sok remarks, "So that's how it was. You helped me. You saved my life." Sol-ah replies, "Anyone else in my position would have done the exact same thing." Yoo-sok mentions, "Kong-jin told me that, back in Syria, Suho and Jun-bom were together. At that time, Jun-bom was working there as a volunteer. He was about to reveal further details regarding the accident when at that very moment their own accident occurred. We will have to wait for him to regain consciousness." In the next scene, he sends a text message to his colleague, Young-soo, instructing him to remain at the hospital. "As soon as Kong-jin regains consciousness, give me a call." We see Joo-young examining the dashcam footage from Sol-ah's car, through which she discovers the license plate number of the vehicle that had been tailing Yoo-sok. She also observes that, at that specific moment, Sol-ah was attempting to save Yoo-sok. In the next scene, we are at the Royal Ox, where an art exhibition is taking place. Sol-ah is slightly taken aback to see Son-ae conversing with a man in Spanish. Later, she asks her, "Did you study art while you were in Spain?" Son-ae reveals that while she was working at a company, she was falsely accused of forgery. "No one came to my aid, so I boarded a ship and came here. I endured a great deal during my time here. I swept floors and kept working diligently. To rebuild my success, I took one specific step: I learned a new language." Sol-ah then recalls the earlier scene from the auction held there, remembering how Son-ae had helped Min-chul secure a victory. She then comes across a news report regarding Min-chul's Taeyong group, detailing an incident where a car caught fire. The vehicle's contents were destroyed, resulting in financial losses amounting to hundreds of thousands. Yet, strangely, no one seems to be talking about it. In the following scene, we see Yusuk, who is now working alongside Juyong. They are analyzing CCTV footage, specifically tracking the license plate of the car that had previously followed Yusuk and subsequently, Sang-il. Inside the vehicle, a man can be seen sitting. Upon seeing this, Yusuk recalls the incident at the public storage facility, the very place where Sola had been summoned. He realizes that this same man had been present there at the time, though he had managed to flee the scene. Finally, we see Sola in her office. A delivery arrives for her, a bouquet of flowers. Sola is stunned upon seeing them, as the accompanying card bears a simple inscription, "Happy Birthday." Along with it comes a phone containing photos of her in the show. She takes the phone and leaves. However, the employee suspected that these flowers must have been sent by Yuziaki. He is quite the romantic. We now see Sola enter and take a seat. She unlocks her phone and looks at a photo of herself and Suo. There is also a video one that Suo had recorded earlier in which he says, "I'm going to die. You probably think I'm crazy, but I'm not. Just keep one thing in mind, the sole reason I am dying is you." We then cut to a flashback scene where Suo is proposing to Sola. However, Sola replies, "I can't do this. I've landed an internship at Royal Ox, and I'm going to be working there now." Enraged by this, Suo throws the ring away. In the next scene, Suo is in Syria. He calls Sola, shouting, "Why aren't you picking up my calls?" Sola responds, "I work at Royal Ox, I'm busy. I can't just pick up your calls." Suo pleads, "I can't handle this breakup. I'll kill myself. I'll commit suicide." Sola coldly retorts, "Do whatever you want. Do you even have any idea what dying actually means?" Meanwhile, we see Junbom at a memorial site. He stands before a photograph of Suo and places down a bouquet of flowers, the very same kind that Sola had received earlier. Elsewhere, we see Yusok speaking with Jae-young. Jae-young asks him, "What exactly were you doing that night?" Yusok explains, "I was tailing the suspect, Junbom, but I got into an accident right at that moment." She then asks, "How is he a suspect?" Yusok begins to explain, "The alcohol found at Samjae's restaurant is the exact same type found in Junbom's possession. Junbom was with Suo back when Suo was in Syria. He was also present at the same event where Eunji died. That is why I'm suspicious of him. Let's first track down the car that was following me." They visit several locations in their search but come up empty-handed. However, when they arrive at a garage, they finally spot the vehicle. It bears the exact same license plate number they had seen in the surveillance footage. They inspect the car's interior. Initially, they find nothing. But then, Yusuk spots a slip of paper with Alpha Tower written on it. He declares, "I know exactly where that is. I'm going to try provoking Junbom again. You bring the forensics team here and have them examine the car." Meanwhile, we see Sanjil, who is staring intently at a photograph of Junbom. He has now begun to harbor suspicions about both of them. Later, Yusuk arrives in front of Alpha Tower, the building that houses Junbom's company, though he does not go inside. Elsewhere, Sola is at home, gazing thoughtfully at a bouquet of flowers. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. It turns out to be Yusuk, who has brought another bouquet and says, "It's your birthday today." He offers her his congratulations. Just then, Sola notices someone standing behind them, watching them closely. They both immediately pretend to be a couple on a date, and she quickly ushers him inside her home. Once inside, she shows him the flowers she had received earlier and says, "A man sent these to me, but I have no idea who it was. Though it might have been Junbom." We then cut to Yusuk, who is sitting inside Sukji's bar. Sukji remarks, "This is the first time your birthday has come around and you aren't spending it with her." In the next scene, Yusuk announces, "We've identified the man who was following me. He works for Junbom, because we found a business card for Junbom's company inside his car." Sola responds, "In that case, he must be the one who sent me the flowers." Later, Yusuk presents an insurance policy and says, "I want to take this out for you. We will do exactly what your previous boyfriend did, the very thing that led to his death. By doing so, we can catch the culprit." But Sola cries out, asking, "Why are you doing all this? If I use you as bait, you could end up dead too." However, Yusuk firmly replies, "It makes no difference to me. You can use me." Sol-ah protests, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be consumed by guilt later on. But Yu-sok responds, the very guilt you fear feeling I have already felt it myself. Meanwhile, at the hospital, we see Kong Jin, he has regained consciousness. Yu-sok brings up the subject of his sister, explaining that they were once incredibly happy together, but then tragedy struck. She died. I couldn't save her. To this day, I still carry the burden of that guilt. Sol-ah offers him comfort, assuring him, it wasn't your fault. She notices the injury on Yu-sok's shoulder, a wound he sustained during his own past accident. They gaze into each other's eyes and share a kiss. Just then, Yu-sok receives a phone call from Yang-soo, who informs him that Kong Jin has regained consciousness and has been transferred to a different ward. Yu-sok replies, all right, I'm on my way. Afterward, he turns to Sol-ah and says, Kong Jin is awake. I'm heading over there now. You stay here, as the police are already suspicious of you. Sol-ah agrees. However, as Yu-sok is leaving, we see Sol-ah watching him from the balcony. Once he is gone, she makes a phone call to someone. In the next scene, we see a man enter the hospital with the intent of killing Kong Jin. He tampers with Kong Jin's IV drip by injecting something into it, then slips away. Finally, we see Yu-sok arriving at the hospital in his car. He had passed the man, but later turned around to look back. He begins to suspect that it must be the same person. He steps outside to investigate, but the man who is near a car spots him. The man, armed with a knife, attacks him. A prolonged struggle ensues between the two, but the man eventually manages to escape. Later, he enters Kong Jin's room. However, we discover that Kong Jin is not there. Instead, it is Yang-soo, who had been feigning unconsciousness. Yu-sok asks if he carried out the instructions he had been given. Yang-soo confirms that he did. Yu-sok then looks nearby, and we realize that he had planted a hidden camera in the room. They check the camera footage to see what transpired. They watch as the intruder enters the room and administers an injection. Yu-sok remarks that when he was fighting the man, the attacker was not wearing medical scrubs. Later, they check the wastebasket and find the scrubs discarded inside. An injection syringe is also found in one of the pockets. They carefully retrieve it, as it likely bears the perpetrator's fingerprints. Yu-sok then approaches Kong Jin, who is still on the premises, and shows him a photograph of Jun Bom. He asks if the person in the photo is Jun Bom, and Kong Jin confirms that it is. He then shows him another photo on his phone, one in which Soo-ho and Jun Bom are standing together. Kong Jin explains that the two were like brothers. However, a terrorist attack occurred at their location. Soo-ho died instantly during the attack, while Jun Bom vanished. Jun Bom was subsequently brought to Korea for surgery, but his whereabouts after that remain unknown. Kong Jin also provides directions to Soo-ho's memorial site. He reveals that Soo-ho's death was, in a way, caused by Sol-ah. Soo-ho had warned her that if she broke up with him, he would take his own life. Sol-ah did not heed his warning, and he met his tragic end. Meanwhile, we see Jun Bom, who possesses the exact same photograph, only he burns it. In the next scene, Sol-ah is at her home. Yu-sok sends her a message, asking her to reveal the location of Soo-ho's memorial site so they can visit it together. In the following scene, the two arrive at the memorial site. Sol-ah gazes at Soo-ho's photograph and notices the very same flowers that had previously been delivered to her. She then shows Yu-sok the video clip in which Soo-ho claims, "My death was your fault." Afterward, she confesses to him, "He used to torment me. I told him that I wanted to break up with him. However, he threatened to kill himself. I didn't take his words seriously and simply replied, 'Fine, go ahead and do it.' I believe Jun Bom is now seeking revenge against me. He wanted me to come here, which is why he forced me to do so. He brings me nothing but misery. Now, I don't know what to do. You probably don't believe me either, because I overheard the conversation you were having with Jae-young at the hospital. You mentioned that there might be an accomplice orchestrating everything. However, Yu-sok reassures her, that's not the case at all. You should have stayed to hear the rest of what I said. I do believe you." In the next scene, we see Sol-ah entering Jun Bom's company building. Unbeknownst to her, there is a hidden camera attached to her bag, through which Yu-sok and Sin, who are waiting in a car nearby, are watching everything unfold in real time. Sol-ah takes a seat inside the office, waiting for Jun Bom to arrive. However, he never appears. Meanwhile, we cut to Jun Bom, who is inside the security room. He instructs the security guard to delete specific surveillance footage. As the security guard prepares to carry out the order, Sin, who is still with Yoo-sok, attempts to remotely access and retrieve that very footage. However, it discovers that these files are being deleted. Nevertheless, it somehow manages to access a specific photograph, one in which Jun Bom is seen inside a car alongside Sang-il. Through fingerprint analysis, Sang-il and his team identify the individual who had been tailing Yoo-sok. His name is Sung-ae. They conclude that they must locate him first, as he likely works for Jun Bom. Meanwhile, Jun Bom approaches Sol-ah. Sol-ah hands him an invitation card and informs him that an auction for the stealer is about to take place. She explains that a special event is being held for the occasion, and he is formally invited. He replies, "Very well. That stealer was deeply significant to me. I will certainly be there." Later, Sol-ah raises a concern. The public will inevitably ask who the true owner of the stealer is. Won't your identity be exposed? Do you think proceeding with this is truly wise? She then confronts him directly. Why did you send me that painting, the one depicting a young boy sitting amidst the chaos of war, weeping? We have seen that painting before. You were in Syria with Suo. What exactly is it that you want from me? And how do you know who I am? Yoo-sok and Shin were watching this entire exchange unfold live. Jun Bom then steps closer to Sol-ah and remarks, "In reality, it probably looks as though I am holding you responsible for Suo's death, or perhaps that I am seeking revenge against you." He then begins to laugh. Yoo-sok tells Shin, Sol-ah is in danger. Shortly thereafter, Jun Bom makes a hasty escape, and the episode comes to an end. We will meet again in episode 8. Episode 8 picks up right where the last one left off. Jun Bom states, "No, I didn't come here to seek revenge. I simply came to see just how beautiful you were, beautiful enough that my friend died for you. And indeed, you are so stunning that anyone could die for you." Sol-ah asks, "Do you love me too?" Jun Bom replies, "Absolutely, I do." Just then, a fire alarm begins to blare, causing Jun Bom to panic, as the exact same alarm had sounded during an attack back in Syria. His secretary rushes to calm him down, while Jun Bom urges Sol-ah to flee the premises. Outside, Yoo-sok is waiting. He takes Sol-ah and escorts her away. Later, upon reviewing the CCTV footage, Jun Bom discovers that it was Yoo-sok who had triggered the alarm. Meanwhile, Yoo-sok is explaining the situation regarding the driver to Sol-ah. Sol-ah remarks, "Jun Bom was about to tell me even more things, but the alarm went off, preventing him from doing so." Yoo-sok confesses, "I was the one who set off that alarm to save you." Elsewhere, Jun Bom is on a phone call, telling the person on the other end, "Do not come to Korea. I will handle everything here myself." By this time, Sol-ah has returned home. Both she and Yoo-sok suspect that the driver is the killer. However, they wonder, why would Jun Bom go to such extreme lengths, committing such heinous acts merely to avenge Suho? After all, he couldn't possibly be capable of killing so many people, could he? Yoo-sok suggests, "Let's provoke Jun Bom. If we anger him enough, he might just blurt out the whole truth." Sol-ah objects, "No, don't. He might end up killing you, too. Don't you realize that?" Yoo-sok feels a surge of delight, thinking, "Wow, Sol-ah is actually starting to worry about me." Later, Yoo-sok informs Mr. Jin that the men who attacked him were Jun Bom's associates. However, Mr. Jin refuses to believe him. Jun Bom is such a good kid, he insists. He wouldn't hurt a fly. How could he possibly be behind an attack like that? Subsequently, photos of the driver and Jun are handed over to Sang-il. However, this evidence is insufficient to warrant Jun's arrest. Just then, Sang-il's wife arrives with their meal. While there, the white-haired woman observes the suspect chart with intense scrutiny and concentration. Ju-young notices all of this, wondering if she perhaps visits daily under the pretext of delivering food, only to leave after observing the police's strategic planning. Well, we will find that out later. Meanwhile, Yoo-sok is engrossed in his work, having received an insurance case involving a large corporate truck carrying 8 highly valuable items. The truck caught fire, and everything inside was completely incinerated, necessitating an insurance payout. Elsewhere, Sol-ah is in a meeting, planning her next project and upcoming auction. For this project, Sola has selected an employee named Sangai as her assistant. Another employee seated nearby watches this with bitter resentment, consumed by jealousy. Back at his office, Yusok examines the details of the truck incident. The truck had first crashed into a tree, subsequently caught fire, and was utterly destroyed, burned to ashes. It was exactly like the incident involving his sister's car. That car, too, had crashed into a tree, resulting in her death. It is the exact same scenario: a vehicle, a tree collision, damage, and an insurance claim. He then calls a friend and asks him to dig up details on a man named Yoon-soo. At that very moment, we catch a glimpse of Yoon-soo himself. He has arrived at Sola's office. Sola notices him as well, observing how he has managed to bypass everyone and head straight to meet the chairwoman. The chairwoman confronts him, saying, "Didn't I forbid you from coming here? Why have you shown up?" Yoon-soo replies, "I've come to broker a deal for you. But I want a 10% cut." The chairwoman retorts, "What kind of nonsense are you spouting?" Yoon-soo says, "You are the one who raised me, and this is exactly what you taught me," and starts to walk away. Just then, Yusok arrives in the parking lot, though Yoon-soo fails to spot him. Upon entering, Yusok shows Seola the details of the truck incident and reveals that something similar had happened to his own sister. Seola, who is already aware of this truck case, notes that a substantial amount of insurance money is at stake. Seola explains, "Look, the artwork that was in the truck was likely fake. No one burns genuine art. This is all a calculated scheme, and the person behind it is the chairwoman." She points out that, yes, it was indeed a truck belonging to the chairwoman's own company that was set on fire. The chairwoman is an incredibly shrewd operator. She destroys fake art to claim the insurance payout. This theory is plausible, especially considering, as you may recall, that she possesses a secret room where she has already stockpiled a vast collection of artwork. Those pieces are likely the genuine articles, which she keeps hidden away. Seola further reveals, "My father was also an artist. And the boss of the loan sharks who used to beat him up was none other than my chairwoman." At this point, we see Seola's father, who had painted a family portrait. You might remember this painting. We have seen it before inside the chairwoman's secret room. The chairwoman, who, at that time, was the ringleader of the loan sharks, had forcibly seized the painting from him. Seola is here now because she intends to avenge her father's death by taking down the chairwoman. This is the moment she makes this revelation. Yusok responds, "So, if we want to ruin the chairwoman, we have to find the real artwork. Where could she have hidden it?" Seola knows that it is located inside that secret room. She has tried to gain entry several times in the past but has never succeeded. Yusok declares, "This time, the two of us will go in together." Meanwhile, Jae-wook is standing just outside, straining to eavesdrop on their conversation. Just then, Yoon-soo arrives on the scene and interrupts them. Jae-wook manages to flee, but Yoon-soo feels deeply hurt and upset upon seeing Seola and Yusok together inside. At this point, Yoonai comes to the chairman. Yusuk is providing information because she aspires to become exactly like Yoonji, who is now deceased, by acting as the chairman's sycophant. The chairman, however, tells her, "No, not like Yoonji, you will become successful like Seola." We then see Yusuk with a young woman who happens to be a former employee of Jun's company. She explains that when Jun Bom returned to the company after a long absence, the security system failed to detect him during the routine checks. It simply could not recognize his face. Consequently, Jun Bom had all the security equipment replaced, fired the entire staff, and hired a completely new workforce. Yusuk finds this situation highly suspicious. He confides in Mr. Jin, remarking, "Isn't it strange? The machine couldn't even detect the very person it was supposed to identify, the man himself." This raises the initial suspicion that the individual currently posing as Jun Bom is not the real Jun Bom at all, but rather an imposter. We then turn to Yoon Yeon, who has already uncovered the truth regarding Seola, Jun Bom, and Soo-ho. Seola is personally filling him in on all the details, including their growing suspicion that the man claiming to be Jun Bom is a fraud. Yoon Yeon responds, "Hey, you should have told me. I would have helped you out. Instead, you went to Yusuk for assistance." Seola quickly replies, "Oh, no. You can help us too." The two of them then go to visit one of Jun Bom's college friends. The friend reveals that he had run into Junbom a short while ago, but Junbom failed to recognize him. At this moment, something clicks for Mr. Jin. He calls Yusuk to inform him, "We collected DNA samples from every volunteer who went to work in Syria." He explains that by analyzing the DNA, they can conclusively determine whether the man claiming to be Junbom is the genuine article or a fake. Soon, the day of the auction arrives, and everyone gathers at the venue. Yusuk confronts Junbom, warning him that if he surrenders now, he will receive a lighter sentence. Junbom begins to laugh, declaring that no one can lay a finger on him. Meanwhile, Seola carries out her part of the plan. After getting Junbom to ingest something, they induce a panic attack in him. Seola then administers an injection to him and extracts a sample, which she hands over to Yusuk. Yusuk subsequently leaves the premises. Essentially, this sample contains DNA material that they intend to test. Meanwhile, Yuna has been observing all this drama unfold. She steals several documents from Seola's office and hands them over to Jae-wook. These documents contain a comprehensive list of Seola's assets, revealing the vast extent of her wealth. Back at the lab, Yusuk has submitted the sample to the forensics department for analysis. Meanwhile, Seola confronts Junbom, demanding to know his true identity. Junbom asks her to come with him, and we next see him leading her to a sprawling house situated deep within a forest. This triggers a sudden memory in Seola. Her former boyfriend was named Suho. He used to constantly talk about how they would one day own a large house, one located right in the middle of a forest, complete with a swing set outside. The house before her is an exact replica of the one he used to describe. As Junbom explains that he built the house, Seola asks him, "You're Suho, aren't you?" At that very moment, the forensic report arrives, indicating a complete mismatch, meaning that he is indeed Suho. Junbom replies, "Yes, I am Suho." Seola then asks, "But how are you here?" We are then shown a flashback scene from the past. One day, while at work, Suho visited the office and asked Seola, "I'm heading to Syria, why are you distancing yourself from me? Would you like to come along?" Seola replied, "No, I'm going to keep working. I have a lot of work to do here." Suho had also checked her phone, where he found a message instructing her to go to a hotel to take care of, or attend to a certain man. Suho had suspected that Seola was engaging in illicit activities by visiting hotels. Consequently, he had followed her and witnessed her entering a hotel room with an elderly man. Enraged by this, he confronted her, taunting her by saying, "You must have really enjoyed yourself having a good time with that old man." Seola retorted, "I went there to work, don't talk nonsense." Suho then revealed the truth. Back in Syria, both Junbom and Suho used to wear identical clothing while volunteering. One day, an attack occurred, and Suho's face was severely burned. Mistaking him for Junbom, rescuers brought him back to Korea. In reality, Junbom had died back in Syria, and the person they had brought back was actually Suho. Now, back in Korea, Suho underwent surgery to reconstruct his face, which was modeled to look exactly like Junbom's. Junbom, or rather, Suho, angrily demanded to know why she had abandoned him. "Was it because I was poor? You used to go to hotels to please wealthy businessmen. Well, now I have become rich, and I'm offering you money, yet you won't even take that. What is it that you want? Just marry me." As he said this, he began to grab hold of her. Seola started screaming in rage. Meanwhile, outside, Yusuk was frantically searching for Seola like a madman. He checked her house and then proceeded to Junbom's residence, where he discovered that the interior walls were plastered with photographs of Seola and everyone in her life, her office colleagues, friends, and family. By this time, Sang-il had also arrived on the scene. The premises were thoroughly searched, and it was discovered that Jun, who was, in reality, Suho, had been keeping a constant watch on all these people. By tracking his phone number, the police were able to pinpoint the location, the very house where both of them were currently present. Upon entering, Ju-young noticed a pool of blood spread across the floor. As she followed the trail, she discovered Junbom's lifeless body lying there, with Seola sitting nearby, her face smeared with blood. It was as if Seola had taken its life, and everyone here witnessed it. And with that, episode 8 comes to an end. We'll meet again in episode 9. Bye.